Morning, folks. We alive yet? Are we awake yet? It's almost practically 7 o'clock in the morning, West Coast times, the 29th of March, 2025. We were Jan City, Rosemead, California. Oh, I feel like a zombie. I'm living in a nightmare zone that everyone else is screaming for us to wake up, get back to our senses. What's wrong with the United States? What the hell is going on with you? We have a lot of people screaming and yelling at their representatives when they have town hall meetings. Try to have protests outside, but apparently the people who got voted into politics, Republicans mostly, they're trying to curtail power in every which way. They're trying to hold what they've got and willing to support a gas bag, taking down freedom, liberty. I think it's called fallacy or fantasy at this point by others. Are they right? I kept throwing out the numbers, and it doesn't make sense to people when I kept saying 1776 and 1860. What does that mean? And if I happen to say what it is, the algorithms or something else will probably pick up on it as I'm a rebel rouser. But you know what? We're going through it right now anyway. I'm expecting the old gas bag, in fear and in panic, to declare a national martial law. Independents out there, I don't know how many of them, are trying to post on their own channels of that same feeling, that same sickening feeling that everything else is going hell in a handbasket. Are they right? Has America finally collapsed upon itself? We derived and tried to thrived on capitalism. We vaulted ourselves as liberals. Well, actually, that's a nasty word, L. No, we wanted to be a democratic society. Democracy is supposed to be voting, but they were still considered a republic because we have states joined into one, and it's a republic. But even in each state, here's a way of voting for representation in a House of Congress, which is now a House of Circus, which is becoming a House of Trump. Without rules and regulations, capitalism went nuts. Some people liked it. They saw the money flow. And now they're seeing the stock market crashes. One company that the mush face has in one hand, and another company he has in another hand, he squished them together. It's like that old thing they kept singing in school a long time ago. You're bringing home a bumblebee. Oh, my mommy be so proud of me. I'm bringing home a baby bumblebee. Ouch, it stung me so I was squishing up a baby bumblebee. Oh, my mommy be so proud of me. I'm squishing up a baby bumblebee. Ew, gross. I'm looking up, and that kind of a song that you would sing in kindergarten a long time ago. Got grosser and weirder after that. Well, I'm seeing our country being grosser and weirder. We brought into the political system a baby bumblebee. Or did we bring home a mature bumblebee into our midst? And we get stung left and right as Americans. We try to squish it, but this one's not squishing very well. It looks very gross in our own capable political hands. We're trying to smear this stuff all over places and over countries, over people. Whatever kind of good we tried to do, we have tarnished our good names and our good reputations because of what the American people decided and chose in the dumbest damn election we actually had in November of 2024. And nobody has raised a hand that they made the mistake in that. Because now they're screaming and yelling. Way too late. They drank the Kool-Aid and they screwed themselves up. But now what do they do? Representation that they voted in doesn't help them. Go in Congress and they argue among themselves, put themselves on camera, posture themselves as the victims. Half the chamber in Congress, actually half of the elected officials in there are getting a mouthful, and the other ones are royally getting a mouthful because of slight leads. One particular party in power. Few have special elections happening to decide whether or not power is going to be shifted or is it going to be remaining still way unstable. We have the wild ones in there had gotten have sickened and tired of the people in the chamber that meetings had to be adjourned or just stalled out while certain foul-mouthed people who were intent on keeping the camera on themselves, they got their limelight turned off, and then the press going after them like I don't know, going after them. Period. It's bad enough in the White House. Press secretary trying to give out all the crap to the reporters and expect them to believe and follow it. And they're firing back. One particular in a network was trying to gain traction and ground and pissed off the bullshit artist. Reminded me last term when this gas bag got in office, actually the first term, and how much this particular reporter got under gas bag and everybody else's skin. Not the principal. She was kicked out. Actually, a few others got kicked out. You have corporate media being labeled it to the people. They're the enemy. They're the enemy. And I heard about that in the first go around when the gas bag got in office and tried to make his own way in there. First 2 years was insane. This second go around is worse. Because Congress allowed it to happen as well. The people who voted the Congress people in allowed it to happen. They wanted the chaos and confusion. They wanted a change in government. Did they want to change the Constitution? Did they understand what the Constitution was all about, no matter how many times they were educated? No, they didn't give a shit. But they thought they had their own version of the Constitution. Well, what happens if the Constitution was absolutely obliterated? Then what do we do? What do? The basis of our country's government system of existing is from a piece of paper with idea and ideology written all over it. And you have places all around the country being eviscerated, wiped out, because they had wrong stuff, they had wrong ideology, and they must be eliminated. That's what makes America the way it was. I said was because now I don't even know what it is anymore. My question is, do we rise up and fight back? Do we? We're trying to fight through the courts, and if the courts are not going to be listened to, then we got a problem then. Country is supposed to be full of laws, rules, regulations. Some people didn't like it because it hampered their ability to get more and more money and power. So now it's become a fight for wealthy and poor. And the poor keeps getting screwed over because the wealthy gets more and more greedier bastards. Do we dare have a civil war, a revolution? The last time we actually had a revolution, we were fighting against a country miles offshore, but with enough representation and enough firepower. We should have lost the Revolutionary War and stayed with England. With all the odds that they were surmounting what they were going against. The 13 colonies were breaking apart during those days. Maybe the rebellion should have been brought down and we should never have been born at all. Maybe we should have been part of the Commonwealth. Would that have solved our problems? But we didn't. We had a Revolutionary War and it took us nearly a decade in one particular session. And then after 1812, it took another few more years until we got we got the British out. We could use them as trading partners, but we don't want to rule by a king. We have our own elected officials, no matter how screwed up they are. And no matter how many bad patches we went through 249 years of existence, I still said we were strong. Were we? Were we actually strong? We had liberals and Republicans shifting because of shifting political viewpoints. I'm wondering if this particular election cycle is going to be the worst one we're ever going to have. Is this an actual test, or are we actually crashing and burning? We can teach history to a lot of people, but there's going to be many versions of it. One side kept saying we want an absolute version of it. The problem is, history is not just written by the victors. They're also written by the survivors. Recorded one way or another. In one form or another. There were many sides of how this, am I going to use the great and glorious? Am I going to use that terminology? For some people, it'll be great and glorious, and for the rest of us, we're like, oh, crap. A great American experiment going hell in a handbasket. We thought we were unique. We thought we were special. And now with petty tyrants ruling, and a country at itself at war. It's a civil war because it hasn't turned into a civil war that actually has bloodshed in it. And we have yet to turn into one of those countries that actually has martial law where the government invokes martial law on its citizens and tells its own police force and military to go against the U.S. Constitution and attack people. Just attack people. Put them under the heels because the rich don't want to hear about it. The ones who are making the rules don't want to hear about it. Are we going to be tearing apart ourselves again? Back in 1860, we fought against ourselves. We didn't get anybody else's help. Let's hope we didn't. This was a fight between ourselves. Britain and France, I think, stayed back. Spain stayed back. They're having issues with Mexico as Mexico was getting its own independence. And no, we had to have a bloody revolution. 1860, a revolution of one side versus the other side of our own kin. Are we going to be doing that again? This is what scares the hell out of me. Losing opportunities for us to vocalize ourselves. Where laws are coming in to suppress us from the very same people we voted in to represent us in a Congress that was theoretically a representative democracy. However you want to flip that around. But it was supposed to have been a country of land of freedom, home of the brave. Rules, laws, regulations that mattered a great deal were interpretation of a constitution was one form in the executive branch, actually in the governing, that would help us to determine what kind of a country we were going to have, depending on the kind of judges we had in the Supreme Court, not to mention in the lower courts, authorized by the U.S. Constitution. And yet the Congress decides that only the Supreme Court will be there, but are they going to be there? If they're going to be following the U.S. Constitution, we were allowed to have smaller courts. And not just one Supreme Court. We're too damn big for one Supreme Court to hear everything. We had to have smaller courts in the different states. We have their states having their own courts. In the federal level, we had smaller district courts, but oversaw different territories. They had their own territories to rule with law. We have history being wiped out in our museums, in our schools, in our libraries, in our universities, in our lives. We're turning into be Nazi Germany now. They did that to themselves. Every other tyrannical bastard out there who decided they were going to be playing king and changed the rules of the game. Our history is not locked into our country. Our history is out there among the world. Are they going to go after everything in the world, or is it just in our country that that we're allowing our history to be wiped out? We had somebody we voted in office telling us we weren't going to get any wars, but he was going to be a tyrant on day one. And the tyrant wants blood, he wants money, he wants chaos and confusion. He lives and thrives on it. He wants the attention. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad or anything. He wants the attention. But everything has to be under one guy's way. Now, is he the puppet master or is he being controlled by another puppet master? There's another financial asshole out there. He doesn't like anybody else who's different other than him. Only he's allowed and only his family's allowed in the country, but nobody else. And he's willing to push and prod people to change government systems. He's pushing judges who conform with the insane asylum of pushing everybody else who may be legal in the country, who is legal in the country, and has birthright, because only this one asshole is entitled. He buys out a company, claims that there's no freedom of speech. Well, there was freedom of speech in there. But unfortunately, we didn't like the speech telling us that we are deriding you all the time. We're putting negative crap all over you. And that's supposed to be freedom of speech. We didn't want that in the first place. We had rules and regulations over the damn shit. Yeah, you can disagree. You can disagree in points of view. But actively threaten people left and right. And this is what he allows on what used to be called Twitter. Now it's called X. Well, it should be buried. It should be buried alive. But because it's having problems, another toy company of artificial intelligence buys out the X, formerly known as Twitter. It's still owned by a puppet master. And we can't get this guy out of the country. Congress won't allow it. Neither will the president. He's got too much money. Too much money that he's playing hot potato. Just like a kid. Want to look down below. The independents still sniping and snapping and biting at each other. Some people claim that they were rising up progressive channels. Look how big and wonderful and powerful we become. No, with a hell of a lot of manipulation, you become screwed up just like everybody else. And you go after friends and family, and you go after colleagues, you tear them apart left and right, and thinking you know better. You don't know any better. You don't know you asked my hot rock, and you don't care. That's the problem. You don't care anymore because it's there. But things have to change. Inevitably, and change happens. I woke up this morning expecting life to go on as usual. I wasn't disappointed. And one particular foreign country is trying to vote its independence from another mother country. Huge landmass, but small populations. And the only reasons why it's getting more and more attention is because climate change that we humans screwed things up with. Minerals are out there that are capturing people's attention, including the greed. The military force of allowed is still on this country, this continent. Shrinking snowmass, but showing the minerals. They're like beacons. It's like, come use me, boys and girls. Let's go screw things up left and right. But the people who lived on there, a small portion of it, still wanted to have their own say, are making a referendum vote whether or not they're going to stick with the mother country that they have that oversaw them for over a century or more. Are they going to be ruled by this country, or they're going to have their own say? But they would have to develop their country the way they wanted to have it developed. Because now you've got the vultures circling around this place. One of the vultures that came with a family and political asp- aspirations, just to tell them, look, we can be your friend, or we can be your worst nightmare. Take your pick. Greenlanders said, no, we're not listening to you. Bye. Get the hell out of our damn land here. Just go. So I'm expecting in this particular situation where law and order doesn't mean anything, only military might. We have a country above the United States of America, part of a commonwealth, but they're their own people, their own voice. And they may have shifted rulers around because of political viewpoints and the atmosphere changes. And they still said in a collective voice, knock this shit off, United States. Question is, will the United States actually pick a fight? Or is this part of distraction left and right? Our civil rights are being attacked. Our own life and liberty in the pursuit of happiness curtailed, except for those who can afford it. If these are the only records I've got to record the days of the fall coming, let it be on record. I failed as a United States citizen. I failed as a Minuteman to allow this crap to happen. My voice was not enough. My voice was not part of a collective that should have been enough to dissuade people, but apparently I'm expecting the massive fallout to happen. A lot of my compatriots in this country of mine, the ones who kept talking, the ones who've used their voice to tell people, look, we see it, we've told you people, we cried out, but you didn't listen, didn't care to listen, so now we're being forced into silence. I observe, I watch. I am dependent upon the government stipend, whatever you want to say the damn word. I put in a hell of a lot of money when I was working. Now I'm living up to small dolloped portions of it, just for a meekly monthly survival, keeping a roof over the head, keeping the bugs at bay, if any, if they are going to be kept at bay. Seeing the food prices go up and up. What had been stored now rots and beyond expiration must be tossed. And what is bought is going to have to be shared as much as I can. I have to see my world fall apart. What eventually scares me is when somebody owns a huge tract of property but has a problem supporting it. And barely to keep rent, keeping a roof over their head, money has to be taken out of people's accounts just so we have a roof over their head. If there are any roofs left out there. A city in turmoil. Fires ravaged parts of its nature. But now comes across the bill over $1 billion, and they have a problem paying for it, except curtailing costs left and right in manpower. They can't get the money replacement out of a state government who's also getting broke. They can't get the replacement money for the feds because the feds don't care anymore. When we did this to ourselves. But the question is, how many times do I have to keep browbeating my own damn countrymen over this shit? Reminding them of who and what they were instead of what they are right now. Hell of a time. And I have to be one of them that has to be an observer, not a participant. And watch everything else go to hell in a handbasket. Are we going in for a civil war? Are we going to be going in for a revolution? Or are we going to be going in for some another form of world history of saying that the greatest country on earth, we kept saying, nothing's going to break down the United States of America. We turned out to be a petty tyrant nation again. This time, instead of having a tyrant miles across the waters, we did this to ourselves. We did this to ourselves.